Are you overwhelmed by the challenge of personalizing communication for thousands of students? That's where Element 451's AI assistants come in. From nudging prospective students to guiding those already on their journey, AI assistants don't just automate. They write, build, and optimize every step of your digital campaigns. Discover how at element451.com/AI team.
Welcome to Visionary Voices, the College President's Playbook, a podcast that serves as your backstage pass to an uplifting and positive view into the collaborative playbook of higher education presidents and their senior leaders. I'm your host, Dr. Bryan Gross. Join me weekly for discussions with some of the best minds in higher education leadership, from presidents to provosts, enrollment managers to CFOs, CIOs to chief diversity officers. This show is your ticket to the most future-forward strategies that are impacting real results on college campuses today. Each week, I will be posting highlights and insights from our show, so let's connect. Visionary Voices is part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered, all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. Well, welcome to this episode of Visionary Voices, and I'm just so pleased to have with me two incredible leaders from San Jose State University, which many people say is actually at the epicenter of the future. Thank you so much. I want to welcome Dr. Cynthia Teniente-Matson and Dr. Vincent J, Jr., President and Provost at San Jose State University. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
Well, we're covering an incredibly important topic that I know so many of our audience members are interested in about. We're going to talk about community and industry engagement. And people talk about San Jose State University being as the original Silicon Valley startup. So let's dive in and talk about strategic vision and community impact at SJSU. How does San Jose State University's strategic vision leverage its location in Silicon Valley to enhance community and industry engagement?
I will start off by saying one of our core values, as you referenced, is really about being visionary and community-minded. And that is a unique blend of our existence as a public urban institution in a downtown corridor. Bryan, there may be about a dozen or so campuses that can truly say they are urban serving and urban facing. And that has tremendous opportunities, particularly in the Silicon Valley, where you just cannot replicate our geography. It also has challenges in being in a downtown urban institution with the same kinds of urban contemporary challenges we see across the United States. So that's a significant part of how we frame ourselves in our strategic vision and our core values as an institution. We also see ourselves as a key anchor institution to the city of San Jose, which is the capital of the Silicon Valley, and work very closely with our elected officials in the vision and the implementation of those strategies to bring the vision to life. And we're living through this very dynamic period of which artificial intelligence and many other elements, the convergence of technologies around artificial intelligence, are taking shape. And it is a premier space for public education as we think about what the world will be like with this integration of these technologies.
There's so much there that you just talked about that I want to cover in our conversation. But specifically, if you think about the local needs of the community that you're in, San Jose, other university leaders are listening to this, and maybe it sounds easier said than done, but how has San Jose State been so successful in integrating its strategic vision with the local needs of the community in San Jose?
So I'll offer a couple of thoughts, and I think Vin can elaborate on them. We've been very closely integrated with the societal issues as well as the societal opportunities that exist in our neighborhoods, in our communities through centers and institutes, some of which the Provost has helped build and escalate. Our urban core mission around so many of the city's issues around transit, around housing, around urban regional planning. And then as we were talking about the integration of AI. And I think Vin can elaborate on some of the specific core academic experiences, and then we can come back and talk about partnerships.
Yeah, if you think about it, this institution's been in this city since 1871, I believe. And in that time, it has evolved into one of the largest cities in the United States. It's actually larger by population than San Francisco. And what it is, as well, is the only public institution of a four-year institution in Santa Clara County. It's training and educating a huge number of people going into the workforce or going on to graduate education. We graduate almost 10,000 students a year. And in doing that, we're the place where the future springs from for many of our students. And so the opportunity to be here and then connect into our community. And a lot of our students are from the area. And so they have figured out how to live here. They come from multi-generational families, and they love this place and want to give back to it in a number of different ways. And a lot of people see that connection. The faculty and staff we also attract are committed to that same sort of mission and are very responsive to the broader economy and society in which we're embedded, thinking about academic programs we need to respond to what this valley, this community, and to be honest, the world needs out of Silicon Valley, for example.
There's a couple of things that to support and substantiate what Vin is talking about. We have a program called Come University. I love that name, first of all. And it really connects the community with university. So Come University, that tackles problems that come from the ground up, so grassroots issues that engage students and faculty in the field-based problem-solving work. And so this is where the community can benefit from the talents of the university. We have another program called the California Core, where again, students and faculty, a faculty leader is funded by the state of California, are funding initiatives that involve civic engagement and engaging in some areas of our population in the highest needs. And there's also the CCCL.
It's the Center for Community Leadership and Learning.
You want to just describe a little bit of that work because it's connected to the core?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a pipeline through which we're making community connections every day. And a lot of our students are doing outreach or internships or other experiences like that. So it is at the intersection of service learning and education and outreach. And really what's interesting academically about San Jose State in this ecosystem is that we're very responsive to needs. So our wildfire center, which is working at the cutting edge of the intersection of fire science as well as machine learning and other questions of how to model, but also how to think about fire, to our work with NASA, which is very significant in the future of space travel and other things like that, and how people are going to live in space, to even the development. We launched a College of Health and Human Sciences, and that college, in collaboration with biomedical engineering and other things, is thinking about what is the future of the intersection of technology and health, right? And at each level, even to the nature of social robotics, out of anthropology, people are responding to this broader set of questions that, to be honest, are really animating everyday life now. Like, where is the future of the human in the context of work, in the context of learning, in the context of education, right? These are really important, big questions. And we're sitting right in the middle of them.
I would say a big part of this, and you started in the inquiry about planning and how do we plan and think about these things. And really under Vin's leadership and one of our new schools that we're forming, we have now created a program in downtown San Jose around urban and regional planning. So all of these issues, the nexus of all of these issues comes together. And I think our landmark around this sort of strategic visioning is the university is in the process of right now actively redeveloping a hotel, a luxury hotel, I will add, that is going to become university housing in downtown San Jose. So it is a 6-minute walk from my office to that new facility, but it really connects our downtown regional placement on the east side of downtown, moving to the west side of downtown. And as you walk that corridor from east to west, you would see this initiative that I was just describing around urban and regional planning, but you'll also, along your stroll, pass our theater that the university runs, a performing arts center. We are working with the state of California to acquire an office building that is in that same walk path to eventually become institutional housing for graduate students and faculty and staff, and then to our new property that we just acquired or in the process of acquiring. And then right from that window, you can see the headquarters of Zoom and Adobe, of whom we have critical partnerships with. So we're really embedded into our community in a way that is anchored back to partnerships and planning.
There's so much that just came out in the first, 9 minutes of this conversation. Thinking about all these partnerships, we talked about Come University, we talked about the California Core, the Center for Community Leadership and Learning, initiatives in urban and regional planning. And I want to bring out a couple more examples for a second. And then I want to answer the question that must be in our audience mind. How do you accomplish this? I mean, we know that San Jose State University is large, 35,000 plus students, undergraduate, but there's a lot of schools in the position from a size perspective that you are, but they're not able to make the same impact in the community. So let's give a couple more examples, and then let's try to explain to our audience how you collaborate with people internally and externally to get this happen, to make this happen. I was so struck in my research by the Sparta Incubator, which is really all about supporting entrepreneurship, which I know is so key and vital. Talk to our audience. What are some of the driving factors behind the creation of the Sparta Incubator, and how has it evolved to support entrepreneurship in the region?
So a few years back, the university invested heavily in all that we've been talking around impact to lift and leverage the talent that we have in our faculty in research and innovation. And the Sparta Incubator flowed from that and began as, and still is mostly a 1.5 person venture, but it integrates, it's a nexus point for much of the academic work that's occurring on the campus, as well as the gateway to innovation in the Silicon Valley, which is one of the elements that you think about when you think about Silicon Valley. Besides disruption, you think about innovation and entrepreneurship. So this was intended to be the gateway for that. We've been able to lift this program faster through external support, both from public or private philanthropy and donors, as well as public grant funding from the Economic Development Administration, which is really focused on equity in the economic enterprise. So reaching out to students and small business and various parts of innovation and entrepreneurship, whether you're at ideation, scaling, conceptual, and moving up through the entrepreneurship cycles through this particular funding to ensure that we're not leaving communities behind through equitable outreach to our talent pool that helps support this program. So that's a big part of what we're seeing come to maturation in Sparta Incubator. And you said it very succinctly, we are a big place. And so coordinating these efforts requires resources and time and talent to come together to build that cycle forward.
I guess I would say in the big picture, there's often this tension in public education, like, all right, should we invest in research and innovation or should we invest in the teaching enterprise? And when you think of them collaboratively and engaged, then you fail sometimes if you only invest in one over the other. And so we made a conscious effort, and I came here 5 years ago, in part drawn to this, is this opportunity to expand the research and innovation enterprise to match the amazing work in the teaching and learning enterprise. And I will tell you, it's paying off. We've gone from $45 million a year in research expenditures to north of $80 million in just 5 years. And we're landing some very big projects and grants now that will soon be announced that are 8-figure grants and contracts that are coming to us because we see the synergy and the connection, and then to focus in on those things. The challenge is the evolution of the faculty and staff to see themselves in this. And we've hired more tenure track faculty in the last 7 years than any California State University. We hired during the pandemic. We're having budget challenges. Everyone is. We're still hiring tenure track faculty because we know that talent pipeline is critical for our students to succeed, for our students to take this learning and bring it back into that community. And when you narrowly focus and lose sight of your strategic vision, you make short-term decisions that have long-term effects. And I've been very proud of the fact that we've had the support and leadership to continue to push forward, even while we're struggling in some other areas. And I think at the end of the day, that is making all the difference. And it takes a long time for these things to pay off. You don't turn that ship and go in that direction overnight, right? You need sustained effort.
Hey, it's Mallory. Element 451 is hosting the AI Engage Summit on October 29th and 30th. This free virtual event brings together leaders, innovators, and many of your favorite Enrollify creators to explore AI's impact on student engagement, enrollment marketing, and institutional success. We're packing the schedule with real examples and case studies, so you leave knowing how to harness AI to drive meaningful change at your institution. Whether you're looking to enhance student outcomes, optimize enrollment marketing, or simply stay ahead of the curve, the AI Engage Summit is your gateway to the next level of higher education innovation. Registration is free. Visit element451.com to save your spot. Now, back to the show.
The numbers that Vin is talking about are just growing exponentially. We started with just a handful of entrepreneurs, and it's now more than 1,000 members that are participating in this program that are connecting. You know, one of the questions we keep coming back to is the connectivity. We're a big place, and we have to be relentless at connecting and communicating. And so one of the other successes for Sparta Incubator has been focusing on student clubs, on the research centers that Vin was just describing, the activity that's already happening in the colleges, and trying to not only connect that, but lift it to another level. Certainly, we have as many challenges as we have opportunities, but it is a far more energetic when we can come together in these guided pathways to help continue to launch this forward.
I guess I'm hearing two things from you, Cynthia. There are really so many different offices around the campus that are involved in this. Student affairs, of course, faculty, the students themselves, curricular, co-curricular. So it's great to see that type of collaboration. And Vincent, coming back to something that you said in terms of San Jose State being really clear on what you want to invest in, even despite challenges that everyone has, I would imagine something that comes up often as I speak to presidents around the country is knowing what to say no to. Has that been something that you've had to have conversations with? What are you not going to do so that you can focus on what your priorities are?
I will say institutionally, in general, program creep is a really big deal. And getting people to a place, and by the way, let's say the evolution of this institution to be more research intensive, not everybody was on board with that. They saw it as a drift, but we saw it as an opportunity. And so we're investing in the research infrastructure, which includes reducing people's teaching loads, that you have to take something back then. We had a lot of money in administrative assign time or in this project or that project. We created a template and said, we're only going to hire faculty in these 6 cluster areas. So everyone goes back. Now, just because you lost somebody in X field doesn't mean we instantly replace X field. How does it link back to our strategic hiring priorities that deepen our excellence as an institution and think interdisciplinarily, which is another really interesting feature of San Jose State. It is an inherently interdisciplinary place. The deans get along really well. They're engaged with each other. They're thinking across their colleges all the time. And we're launching a new college in information, data, and society. And we're right in the heart of that. We should have that college, right? We should bring those conversations together. And those kind of things are what really start to change the game. But you're 100% right. You have to say, you know what, this is going to get pared down, or we're not going to just go and replace these things just because we had them before. And that's hard. Like, those are hard conversations. But being authentic and honest and talking people through why those decisions are being made and then how they can see themselves in the future. I want a historian. Great. What about a historian of technology? Like, that links up to where we're going. And people start to go, oh, that's actually a really important field. Like, that aligns, actually. We can make that work. Those kind of things. Anthropology, social robotics, like getting people to think that way and watching them then get all excited and go, yeah, you're right. Those are the important questions. How are we going to do this? What are we going to look like in a world anthropologically when robots are working with us? Right? What does that mean? Like, that's a real question. Like, that's a real question. So you need critical anthropologists asking those questions. Otherwise, you're going to miss the opportunity. And we're right in the middle of that.
In parallel to what the provost is saying, and he helps to guide this, we have taken the same track that he was talking about with the faculty, with students. So we understand students, especially first generation students, and we're over 40% that are first gen here in our community, introducing them to co-curricular activities, introducing, as we talked about, several of these service learning opportunities that exist in the curriculum. So students understand they must have that as they move through their degree roadmap, and lots of opportunities for that sort of engagement and constant reminders and opportunities for them to bump into why they need to say yes to undergraduate research, why they need to, how they learn from their field-based research program to lead them into another internship, or their career service roadmaps and plans within career service, and having that be a far more integrated element of their student journey so that it is a pipeline to a job. The other thing that I think relative to the conversation we're having now around curriculum and co-curriculum is the provost and the deans have been very inspiring and entrepreneurial in creating a far more 3+1 programs where a student can come in and have a pipeline to a graduate degree as part of their curricular journey. So they're not leaving here without both of those credentials, which makes them far more marketable in a very competitive world.
I love this. So much there that is just so inspiring. Vincent, I could tell how passionate you are, your background about this interdisciplinary collaboration. And I've read a lot of recent peer-reviewed research that looks at the benefits of having a professionally appropriate relationship in a work environment. And so when I hear you talk about the deans really enjoying each other's company, I don't think that's insignificant at a place the size of San Jose State University with the type of innovation that's happening. And then Cynthia, as you talked about the Career Development Center too, I'm guessing that so embedded in their everyday work to make sure that students are not only getting that career and professional preparation, but that they're thinking about how they can engage with the community as part of their experience.
It has to happen at every point, though, and I'm sure that your listeners understand that, but that's actually the hard part. So when we talk about things like career services, that the provost is ensuring that some of those discussions are also happening at the advising level, as well as what's happening with the department chairs and the academic deans, so that career services, which is traditionally, as you know, in its own lane under student services. And it is here too under student services, but that integration and interdisciplinary component, which really starts at the recruitment cycle. And early on, helping students to identify what will be their major and how does that tie to the pipeline, either to graduate school or to a job, and having that be far more embedded and support-oriented from the Career Services Center, helping to support faculty in achieving these goals together.
And I will say, as an example to that, our partnership with Adobe, which has been significant over the last several years, we're one of only 3 institutions that they invested in their Adobe for All effort. We started with faculty development and training in digital and creative literacy, but the next project is located in career. The idea is, how does every student walking out the door at San Jose State have an understanding of how their digital and creative literacy is going to be a core component of almost any job they get? We are in a multimedia world now. So how do you interact with that? And we have the tools that help them. And if they're not seeing that in a class, then the opportunity is, for example, to work through career services on the kinds of credentials that exist from Adobe, from other organizations, to elevate their profile. Because it's the skills they have that are within and beyond the classroom that are going to get them that first opportunity, that first job. So we're mapping that across all components of the institution. And that is a really interesting opportunity for students and a great partnership that's come out of the fact that we could walk to Adobe from our office. But we're not the only institution they're investing in it. And you don't have to be down the street to have that connection. I mean, we've done those things at different places, but it is a moment for us and an opportunity. We're trying to map that so that people can scale it and bring it to other institutions. We're happy to have those conversations as well, because we can't educate everyone, and we want to see as many students as possible have those skills.
President Teniente-Matson, I was really struck when you were installed as the president of San Jose State University. You talked a little bit about the interdisciplinary science building at San Jose State University, and you talked in general about how you don't build a building and then put the programs in them. You know, you have the programs and then the building kind of comes around it. But this idea of an interdisciplinary science building is really interesting. And I'd like to dive into that a little bit and have you explain a little bit how this interdisciplinary science building enhances collaboration between student, industry partners, and most particularly faculty. And what are some of the key features that facilitate that?
So one of my favorite phrases is facilities follow program. And as you've heard from the enthusiasm of this conversation that we're having about the interdisciplinary core, and we can't just talk about it, we have to have the spaces. So this particular building was the first academic building at San Jose State in 30 years. So we were long overdue. It is the largest building, or one of the largest buildings. I think it's in parallel with our Martin Luther King Library, which was also cutting edge and ahead of its time in terms of being a co-functioning library that in partnership with the city of San Jose. So we built it together as a public and a university library combined. So the intent of the interdisciplinary science building was to really be a collaboratory space with adjoining labs for faculty to share and students to share. That in and of itself isn't so unique. But this particular building has our interdisciplinary science program, some core science features, as well as space that was done for innovation, 2 floors actually of innovation laboratory space that's now being used for classrooms, but it's also places for industry professionals to come and engage with our faculty, our staff, and our students. Every space every floor in the building has hangout space, serendipitous collaboration space where our students and faculty can come together. There's lots of team rooms for this sort of sporadic engagement that occurs when you have like minds coming together or coming from across disciplines together. So that's really cool. But there's multiple colleges and probably eight different departments or so, maybe even more. I don't recall Vin off the top of my head. Vin was involved in the programming and the development of the building far more than I was, but it is a key, a signature for where we're heading forward.
It's a really interesting building, and I have to give a big shout out to our Dean of Science, Michael Kaufman, the Associate Deans, also Mary Van Hoven and Shelley Cargile, because they spent a ton of time on this. But one of the really interesting features and the important of how the building aligns with our values is the deans insisted that the research and teaching spaces would be next to each other so that a student who's just starting out and walking down the hallway could see a lab operating and go, oh, and faculty offices are intermixed. The idea is that you're constantly engaging with what's going on as opposed to not doing things. The other thing too that happened, it depended on the type, but historically labs have to fit walls between them. In some floors, they have none. And so literally different types of science is happening, but in a larger space where people can go, oh, what are you doing over there? You know, like the little things. And that's why universities are still important places. There are that moments of connectivity. The serendipity that building produces is where problems get solved or questions get answered. And so the philosophy of how the College of Science was thinking about the space was directly tied to how they wanted to teach, do research, and kind of address wicked problems, which is so cool and really on them for leading that effort. It was amazing.
This is so incredibly exciting. I mean, we've in the last half an hour talked about 6 formidable collaborations. We didn't get a chance to dive deep into the Minetta Transportation Institute. We only briefly touched on the Wildfire Interdisciplinary Research Center that's happening. But we know San Jose State, you talk about the epicenter of the future. So I am a little bit interested in our audience. You have all these things going on. Let's talk about future directions. Cynthia, what are some of your future plans for continuing to expand San Jose State University's community and industry engagement initiatives? How do you see things evolving over the next couple of years?
So I've been here over a year now, a year and a half. I came in January of 23. So my focus for the moment, not just for the moment, but into the long run, is for San Jose State is at the epicenter of the future. And a big part of that is how we integrate AI into everything that we are doing across the institution. And AI may even be too narrow of a term. I would probably pause and say how we integrate the integration of technologies that are going to be informed by artificial intelligence into the future. We've talked about convergence of machine learning, large language models, robotics, AI, how we view ourselves as the public university in the Silicon Valley, leading or at least being at the front of, if not at the tip of the spear, these partnerships with our community partners. Vin mentioned Adobe. We are talking to numerous other partners that are headquartered here in Silicon Valley, many names whom you're familiar with, about how our faculty are engaged on sometimes in their corporate floors and how that translates to the curriculum development. Within the California State University, as you know, there are 23 campuses, almost 500,000 students. We're the only university in the Cal State system with a master's degree in artificial intelligence, and it's not new. We're in our 3rd cohort of graduate students. So I'm really looking to our AI vision statement to move us forward in undergraduate curriculum development, certifications, research opportunity, more community engagement and co-curricular activities that are all around the center of these new technologies and cybersecurity and ethical technologies, which is a big part of the narrative about how do we think about all of these technologies coming together. Under Vin's leadership, we've created in the last 6 months that has gone through all of the academic process to launch an Institute for Ethical Technologies. And that will sit within humanities and the arts. It's interdisciplinary. It's going to include engineering and computer science and business and some of the others. And it'll be adjacent, at least in theory, to what we're doing in digital humanities, as well as the work that we're doing in computer science and computational linguistics and the other programs. So there is something special about a public university in the Silicon Valley, in San Jose, at this moment, at this time, that I believe sets us apart from other institutions. And we have the leadership moving us forward in that direction to set that trajectory forward for students that are coming through here. And we see that as a very large attraction in our enrollment. Our numbers are reflecting that. We know what students are asking for and looking for. When we're recruiting outside of California, we don't have to explain what the Silicon Valley is and why it's important. The name in and of itself gives that energy and the magnetic attraction to our academic program. So a big part of my vision with the provost is leading our institution forward as a leader through this AI revolution.
This is amazing. So inspiring to feel your energy and to hear all the evidence of the amazing and dynamic things that are happening on campus. I always like to give advice to future leaders that are listening. And for both of you, as such experienced leaders in higher education, what advice would you offer to aspiring leaders about fostering collaboration and innovation in a higher education context today?
Well, I would start by saying, we need to look from within. We need to invest where we have the competitive advantage. And as public universities, we can never get away from serving our region. There's a lot happening, and we have to be aligned with what our regions need and leveraging our geography to make that excellence unique to our institutions without losing sight of meeting the needs of our students and our community.
That's great.
I would say one of the most important things we should think about is how you hire institutional thinkers. So I've got a Dean of Humanities, Shannon Miller. She's really amazing, doing interesting stuff. She's collaborating with the Dean of Engineering on the ethical technologies question. She's collaborating with the Dean of Library, Mike Meth, on this other stuff. And so they think institutionally, not just locally. And that's how you move the needle, is when everyone walks in the room and go, how is this advancing SJSU for its students, faculty, and staff in the whole? It doesn't mean they're not trying to build their stuff, but when you have computer science and linguistics come together and go, let's do a degree in computer science and linguistics and hire computational linguists in a humanities college, you're doing something different, right? You're going to a place that not every institution goes to. And those thinkers make all the difference, in my opinion. And if you have them throughout the institution, things move forward.
That's amazing. Vincent, I can't tell you, this idea of how to hire institutional thinkers is just really important and really great advice for those people who are thinking about how to accomplish even a fraction of what's happening at San Jose State University. So we close every episode. We have a playlist on Spotify where we ask our leaders to pick a song that exemplifies the spirit of their institution or what it means to be a higher ed leader. And I'd love to give one or both of you an opportunity to add your favorite or most inspiring song to our playlist. So have you given this some thought? Would you like to share with the audience?
I think of lots of songs. I'm going to go with Queen, We Are the Champions.
Love it.
Because I think we are in many ways for the preservation of education, the students that we serve, the victories on the field, the victories in the classroom. And we're in a spot to really leverage where we are. Vin, do you have a song?
I was going to go with Aretha Franklin's Respect, but
Well, we'll put them both on there. And I was going to ask if we need to pair We Will Rock You with We Are the Champion, for that ultimate,
at the end of the day, that's a really good one. It's a really good one.
Well, this has been so fun. I feel like we probably could have talked for 3 straight episodes. A lot of questions that I would have loved to ask, but I'm so grateful for the time that we spent together. And I'm so inspired by the amount of collaboration and innovation that's happening at San Jose State University. So thanks so much for coming on Visionary Voices, the College President's Playbook today.
Visionary Voices, the College President's Playbook is part of the Enrollify Podcast Network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admission professionals find their next big ideas and feature a huge selection of the industry's best. As your hosts, learn from Artis Cadu, Jamie Hunt, Allison Tercio, and so many more of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered, all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.